Hello and welcome to the Wednesday night Grumpy Sound Guy show. I am recording this on Tuesday morning because I have a crazy busy week and enjoying an absolutely phenomenal morning here. The sky is blue. It's about 70 degrees. I can't believe that Thanksgiving's in like 2 weeks. Like Mother Nature is bipolar or something. I don't know what's going on with all that, but I'm thankful for it and I'm feeling grateful. Tonight we're going to talk about doing business. We're going to talk about the woes of dealing with problematic clients. If you've been following my short form video stuff, you'll know that I have been complaining about and kind of ranting on problematic clients all this week. We're going to build on top of that a little bit. We're also going to get specific about how you should be bidding jobs and how you should be structuring your price and, your value and things like that. So there's a bunch of stuff that's really going to be chalked into the next, 15 minutes here. So before we get going, let me remind you to please subscribe to this channel. Please do all the things that you should be doing to support this kind of content. It's a lot of work goes into all this kind of stuff, and believe me, I don't have to, roll out all this information. I could just keep it all to myself, but instead we're trying to pay it forward here and we're trying to help you guys be better at what you do. So with that being said, let's just dive right in. So this week we've been talking a lot in the short form stuff, just about the problems we run into with clients. To review some of that just super quick is, guys that want to change dates the week of the show. They want to, use your deposit to, like they want to scale down their event and then use your deposit for whatever services they've, decided to do. That, meaning that you make no money basically, on this. See, the thing is, clients have got to understand that, whether you're a production company or you're a band, that non-refundable deposit is in place as a financial commitment to the date you're asking for. That's really the only thing it's buying. It's buying security on that date. When you change that date, now you've cost us time. You've cost us a date we could have booked with a client that did want to do a show on that date. So, that's what your deposit is for, is to kind of try to cover some of those losses. And none of us in this business have any burning desire to, steal your deposit or, whatever kind of cockamamie thing that you think that we're trying to do with your deposit. No, man, it's a security thing from our perspective too. Now, my contracts state that I will push the deposit forward on a rescheduled event. And I will do that once, maybe twice, especially if your events weren't like in peak times, or if it was in the off season, or there was some kind of thing like that. I get it, man. It's all good. Like, again, I'm not trying to steal your deposit, but you're costing me money every date that you cancel and move forward. And then you want, and I have run into this with guys before because they just don't read the contract, man. I mean, come on, it's there in black and white. I didn't spend all the time that I spent putting that contract together for you to just sign the bottom of it and go, and then think that the world's going to revolve around whatever thing that you want to do with the event. No, the contract's in place for a reason. It protects you and it protects me. And this business is so hard, and the financial numbers in this business are so tight, specifically on the production side of it, that we really can't absorb a whole bunch of losses. I know a bunch of guys that I love and cherish as friends who have walked away from this business because of this very reason. Because they can't turn a measurable profit when clients are jerking them around like this, and then when guys like me hold your feet to the fire, to the terms of the contract, then we're painted as being hard to work with. We're painted as being jerks. We're painted as being thieves because you think that we're stealing your deposit when you just didn't read the contract. It's a non-refundable deposit. It is to cover the date that, you know, you're booking with us. These can be so challenging to navigate through as a business owner. There's no other business that you can really point out that deals with this kind of stuff. If you hire a guy to come build your house and you refuse to pay the guy the next draw on the house, guess what? Them dudes ain't going to show up and finish your house. You have a contract with them. The same thing in real estate. You have a contract with them. That contract is not there for any other reason but to put all the cards on the table and to let everybody in the situation understand what their responsibilities are to whatever's on the contract. It's not rocket science, man. It really isn't. It's not rocket science. If you just read the contract, that'd get you 1,000 questions answered right there. So we've been kind of ranting on that in the shorts this week and some of the challenges that go with that. I have no desire to come, like if we negotiated an event for, you know, 10 grand, you know, and your deposit was half that, and then, you know, you want to change the date of the event and then scale the event down to where the deposit would cover whatever services you need, I have no obligation to agree to that because that wasn't what was on the contract. And I think if you're somebody who does that, I think you're not doing yourself any favors, you're not doing your staff any favors, and you're certainly not doing your company any favors. So let's talk about bidding jobs, and let's talk about getting into some of the nuts and bolts of the financial stuff, because I know that's what everyone really desires to know. You have to figure out what your overhead on that specific event will be. That's staff, any kind of truck rentals, fuel, you know, any of that kind of stuff, meals. You know, I try to write at least one meal in the contract while we're on site. But, you know, you guys know sometimes we're pulling 22, 26-hour days. You're going to eat at least 2, if not 3 other meals that wasn't provided in the contract. And if you're providing meals for your staff, you know, trying to be a decent, you know, employer, or your staff has to, you know, factor in that, that's going to greatly affect the kind of money they're going to charge you for their services, and rightfully so. You know, I try to provide a lot of that kind of, you know, fringe benefits is what I call it, on my job, so that I don't have to pay quite as much, you know, at a daily rate, because it's just hard. So you take that number and you should at the very least double it. So let's just say that, you know, you're bidding a $5,000 little 1-day, 2-band little beer fest in your local park or something like that. Let's just say for conversation's sake, it's $5 grand. Let's say your overhead is, you know, $1,500 on that gig. Now you're saying, well, JR, you just said double the overhead and let that be your price. Well, no, because now you haven't factored in the hidden overhead that's in every gig you do. Let's talk about that. The amount of money that you doubled from your original overhead for that event is what I look at as money that covers hidden overhead. Hidden overhead is putting tires on the truck, oil changes, brakes, gear maintenance, you know, tires on the trailer for your gear trailer, brakes on the gear trailer, because you got to replace brakes about every other year when you're pulling the kind of miles we're pulling, you know, on your enclosed trailer. I have a stage I have to keep up with. There's maintenance on all that. You know, tires, brakes, again, on that stuff. There's all kinds of miscellaneous things that go. Those are just all infrastructural stuff. And doubling that number, like, you know, $1,500 was the overhead for the event. Then you're saying another $1,500 is the overhead, the hidden overhead cost. So then where are you at now? So now you're at $3 grand. So now you're thinking, well, it's a $5,000 gig, man. You know, that's not a bad profit. You know, we're going to have about a $2,000 profit. If you can't make a profit in this business, why are you even doing it? And the thing that drives me nuts about this business more than anything else are guys that are weekend warriors and are only doing this as a hobby, that are devaluing the business by going out here and doing business for, you know, like that same gig they may bid for $2,500, half of what I would bid it for, because they're not smart enough they're so hyped up and they're so excited about, you know, playing with their gear and getting out and doing an event and posting 1,000 pictures on social media about living my best life and, you know, look at us and, you know, we're melting faces and crushing skulls and all the crazy stuff that you see all of us talking about online, that they're not thinking about how much this is actually costing them to do business, you know. At the $5,000 mark, $2K sounds like a really good profit. But that hidden overhead we were just talking about, those are just normal maintenance things that you deal with, you know, on every event. Now let's talk about, you know, the catastrophic failure part of this. So let's say, God forbid, you're on some kind of jacked up power thing at an event or something like that, and you lose an amplifier. Well, I use Crown, you know, macro I, you know, amplifiers, and those things to replace, even used, is $1,500, $2,000 a piece. If you buy them new, they're $4,000 or $5,000 a piece. You know, to replace them, if you can't find them used, you know, you're paying that $4,000 or $5,000. You know, if I got to replace 2 of them, like say my sub amps, let's say I replace 2 of my sub amps, you know, that is, at the end of the day, at the very best case scenario, is going to cost me probably $3,500 to $4,000. If I replace them with updated stuff, now you're talking, like, to get 4 channels of that kind of power, you know, you're talking about $8,000 or $10,000. So that $2,000 profit doesn't look so great now, does it? Or if you blow a sub driver, there's $400 or $500 to replace an 18-inch sub driver. God forbid you have a blowout on the road. We've all seen guys that have had blowouts along the road on their equipment trailer. Tire comes off, takes the fender off the side of the trailer. Now you're stuck along a major city beltway, you know, sometimes in like 4 and 5 o'clock rush hour, or it's 3 a.m. in the morning, because that seems to be the way things work. And you're going to have to, if you have a spare, which I always carry a spare, you know, you're going to have to negotiate that situation along the road, come back home, not only just replace the tire, but now you got to replace a $500 fender on the side of your trailer. It's so easy to lose money in this business. So easy. The least little thing that goes wrong is crazy expensive. A single phase power distro can set you back $2 or $3,000. You know, God forbid you have something go wrong in one of those things, you know. Just anything, man. You could swing a dead cat in my garage and find something that, if it was to break, you know, is going to really eat up your profits. That's why our business is so expensive to hire, you know, because there's so much of this that you have to factor into it just to make a measurable profit and make it worth your while to even do this. Clients never understand any of that stuff. All they see is a bottom dollar number. You know, well, why are you $5,000 when the guy down the street's $2,500? Well, first of all, I'm one of the most in-demand middle market production houses in the Mid-Atlantic. That has value. Number 2, I have a reputation of consistency. That has value. Number 3, I'm one of the most sought-after sound engineers in the middle market here in the Mid-Atlantic. That has value. If you want to hire the weekend warrior down the street who may have just bought a new sound console he has no idea how to use, he's just going to figure it out on the job, be my guest, you know, because let me tell you something about the weekend warrior. Those guys usually last anywhere between 3 and 8 years in the business. It's like the 7-year itch thing. You know, they get to that 7-8 year mark, they start looking back, the excitement of doing these events start wearing off on them, and they realize they're not making the money they need to make. They're having to buy vehicles every couple of years. And I mean, vehicles are, I mean, my diesel truck was like $70,000, dude. You know, just to be able to pull my stage and equipment trailer. And I'm staring in the face of probably buying a second gas-powered 3/4 ton vehicle so I can pull my equipment trailer and stage at the same time. That's going to set me back at least, you know, $15,000, $20,000 there. This is the stuff that the clients don't understand. These are the things that they don't understand about what it takes to do business. And that doesn't even count, staff that you got to put in place and all the overhead stuff we originally talked about that you do on every single event. Then there's liability insurance and Uncle Sam's up your rear end about every nickel and dime you make, and I mean, it makes it so hard to even make it worth your while to even do this. I get guys that ask me that all the time. Like, why do you even do this if it's so hard to make a living? Well, this is kind of what I do. This is my career, dude. This is the reason why I'm not the cheapest guy in town. And I have no desire to ever be the cheapest guy in town. Because let me tell you something. The cheapest guy in town is never going to live up to your expectations. Never. He's never going to make your event something people are going to be talking about a month when it's over. Never. The cheapest guy in town doesn't bring the correct gear. The cheapest guy in town typically don't even have a business license or business insurance. Ask him for his liability insurance and then see where you're at. These are all things that we have to take into account when we're trying to do business. Love you guys. I'll see you next week.